Tracking advancement with a question mark, because in fact we see very little advancement in a lot of ways. So we were just talking about it earlier that in 1910 there were over 400 black-owned farms that this book documents, and that the Michigan Manual documented. And we would be hard-pressed, I think, to find even probably 10% of that kind of land ownership and black farm land ownership here in the state of Michigan. So that's particularly interesting. The roles of black businesses, and not just farm owning, but property owning. There's so many beautiful pictures here of those homes throughout the state of Michigan, homes here in Detroit. And it really kind of situates, particularly right now when we as black people are losing so much space. You know, people don't imagine us in the landscape of Detroit in some cases and now, or Van Buren County or Cass County, where we had vast acreage and vast levels of property. Education, how much we were focused on education. The manual very firmly quantifies how folks were getting their degrees in law and their degrees in medicine. And so we see that we have very solid roots at Michigan State and their law program there, or Wayne State and their programs in medicine there. So we were very much a part of building those fundamental organizations and institutions that became part of, and are still part of, our kind of everyday landscape, but we don't see us here.
What's, in your opinion, what's the need to understand the difference between black progress and white progress? Why is it important?
Well, it's important because you need to know what the end goal of every action that you take is going to be. And you need to know what you're shooting for. So if you're shooting for black equality,
Mm-hmm.
but everything that you're doing is centered around uh, white progress or getting white people to view us as equal, then there's a whole part of the coin that you're missing that it's not going to end up turning out the way that you think it should. Like, so
Right.
for instance, so if we're talking about progress, we break it down in two sectors, because when you're talking about progress for a collective group with a bunch of different identifiers and cultures and things in there, progress has to be broken down for each individual group in order to achieve true progress. And so
Right.
that means that every group is going to have to change something or do something different in order for the whole to rise. If you're trying to get one group to be on another level, but you're solely focused on another group that's not that group, then you have to consider that you might be doing a disservice to the group that you're actually trying to help. You might not be helping them at all. You might, in fact, be hurting them or hindering them. So,
Right.
to flip that another way, and to give an example, we'll say a lot of, say a group comes out and they want to focus on equality for black people. That's their focus.
Right.
But instead of focusing on black progress, they focus on white progress, and they don't really do too much to advance black people at all. All of their focus, all of their energy is on white people. And then say they become a prominent organization, they become a powerful organization, a paradigm changing organization.
Mm-hmm.
Um, all of the work that they put in and all of the change that they manifest is going to be manifested on the side of the fence that is going to gear black people more towards assimilation and less towards self-actualization and self-defining, because the white people are going to be looking at black people like, you're right, we should be more we should be more tolerant of them, we should be more accepting of them, we should be more this of them, let's give them this, let's give them this, let's give them this, let's give them this. And so you have a community that still hasn't built any structures of its own, still haven't
Right.
developed
Right.
anything for itself. And now everybody's just giving them stuff. Look at how bad they have it. Let's give them this. Let's give them this. Let's give them this. You haven't built any community that's equal. You've built a community that's dependent on the goodwill of another community.
Yeah. Um, when we have our conversations, we always talk about the need for black self-actualization within America. Now, I can admit I never thought about the concept of black progress versus white progress until we started having those conversations years ago. But it made sense to me. Um, one of the first examples that we talked about was the Negro League versus the Major League Baseball.
Mm-hmm.
And two figures that you and I always talk about, Rube Foster
Right.
versus Jackie Robinson.
Right.
And so this is from a historical context because this actually happened. And we can one person everybody knows, and one person is held as an American hero. One person hardly anybody knows, unless you're a real
Mm-hmm.
baseball historian or you just a real historian on as like personalities. So Jackie Robinson becomes he leaves the Negro League, goes to play in the Major League Baseball. He's seen as somebody who helped advance things for Black people. Would you consider what he did Black progress or white progress, and why?
Absolutely not. That's white progress. And that's actually what I would consider white progress at the expense of black progress.
Okay.
Because, and that's not to, and here's the thing, like people got to understand before we get deep into this. It's not saying that one is bad and one is good, one is evil, one is not. You know what I'm saying? Like one is preferred for me as a black person, and
Right.
the other one would be preferred for, you as a white person or whatever the case might be. But um the viewpoint that I have is what Jackie Robinson did by going to the Major League Baseball, the White Boy League, and leaving the Negro League. He was the first to kind of undercut what black people were building.
Right.
Um, and he opened the floodgates for what would eventually become the dissolution of the Negro League. And so from the white perspective, great. We got a black guy coming over here to play basketball. Look at how inclusive we are. Look at how accepting we are. Look at how tolerant we are. That does take, it took a major step for white people to do that, to overcome what they were doing. Like a Negro can play, and we know that all white people went down for it. But enough were, because of the perks, we're not gonna get into that right now, maybe we will. But because of the perks, they were
Yeah.
down. So they allowed it to happen. They backed it, they celebrated it, and next thing you know, the floodgates were open. Immense change happened in the world of Major League Baseball and sports. What did that do for black people though? No longer were they in control of their own league. No longer were they in control of their own destiny in terms of entertainment, in terms of the sport itself, in terms of the finances that went through the sport, in terms of the secondary markets and all of that were impacted by the sport. A whole community was shut down because somebody valued white progress over black progress. And so another point of that would be what I think would be equal progress would have been if instead of Jackie Robinson leaving the Negro League and going over there, and white fans of baseball could have started just watching Negro League baseball.
They could have, but we know why they didn't, but they could
Right,
have.
right. But I'm just saying, in terms of
Right. No,
like
you're right.
what would have been equal progress, black people could have continued to progress with their league, and white people could have showed tolerance and acceptance by just watching Negro League baseball. There was no need to undercut the Negro League. And we see the same thing. That's a great point you bring up about the Negro League. We see the same thing happening right now with HBCUs.
Yeah. 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 Um. Well, see, yeah, especially that argument that I see some people have with athletes and some athletes have amongst themselves about they try to frame it around the resources available at white schools versus black schools. And I guess the part that kind of gets me when they frame those arguments is, yeah, but you know how they got the resources. They got the resources off of
Right.
black labor. And these um I talked about this on my podcast, the Fix Sports Podcast, my sports podcast. It's an article that's been put out about how wealthy white athletes or just white college students benefit from poor black athletes.
Mm-hmm.
So like Dr. Claude Anderson wrote in his book, Black Labor, White Wealth, Black people are the labor force. The Black people bring in the money. The money helps the white institutions grow. The white people are able to compound that money and get more resources to help their institutions grow. While the individual Black people and their families, they saw such a small portion of their labor go back to them. It's not even fair. It's not even funny. So I think another reason why I want to have this conversation, because I think we need to really start wrapping our minds around the difference between Black progress and white progress. Like I'm not excited. I'm excited to hear that a young 16-year-old, 17-year-old, 18-year-old is about to go to college and have $1 million in scholarship. But me personally, I don't want them going to Yale and Harvard.
Right.
They done had enough. I want them to go to HBCUs to help build up the Black schools, to help build up the Black communities, because we need real Black progress.
Right. And that goes to a conversation we had, I think it was either before or after one of our shows and it might have been during, you know what, it was the first show, it was 2 weeks ago. Time is moving slow during COVID. All fast. It was when we were talking about the David Banner joint. Not the David Banner, the Ice Cube joint.
Yeah, the contract for Black America.
Right. And we were talking about the academic portion, and what you just hit on just takes my mind back to that, because just like people are like, yo, if all of the best athletes would go to a HBCU, then the HBCUs would be shot out, like they would control the market. Well, the same is true for academia and scholarship. If the best and the brightest Black kids would go to HBCUs, then the HBCUs would run that field as well. So, but again, Black progress versus white progress, and see the interesting thing with the argument is that it requires a bit of a brain flip, right, to be able to understand what true Black progress is, because we've been trained to view everything through the lens of white people. So to us, white progress looks like Black progress for many of us. And that's why we have so many organizations claiming to be for Black people actually spend most of their time, energy, and resources doing stuff to affect white people and the opinions they have of Black people.
To them, they don't want white people to look at, because I hate to hear Black people say, well, I don't want white people to think that we are what they say we are. And they was like, well, why are you worried about what they say and think about you? Like we should be building things within our community that's best for us. Forget how they think. Damn how they think. Because they're not thinking about us when they build those things for themselves.
Right. Absolutely not. So absolutely not.
That's where I am with that. Integration. Because we got to get into integration. We have to get into it, because I think integration was one of the most. It was. I would say one of the highlights of the ideas of Black progress versus white progress, because integration was a mass exodus of Black people doing for self, and Black people start becoming more of, or I guess you could say a returning to that main labor class for white people. What's your thoughts on that, as far as the integration being a form of white progress versus Black progress, and how we're still carrying some of those things today that came from integration? Because we really do think white ice is cold. Let's just be real.
Yeah, I mean, I like to define, well, first, I like, I'm all about precision of language, and integration wasn't ever the goal. The goal was assimilation. And that's always the goal for a dominant group of people dealing with a minority group of people. Anytime a larger culture is interacting with a larger culture and they're forced to coexist, the larger culture seeks to assimilate the smaller culture. The more powerful culture seeks to assimilate the less powerful culture, and the less powerful culture, oftentimes group psychology and all of those other things come into play, seek to be assimilated. It's a survival instinct. It's a wonderful proposition. I can continue to exist and I can exist in the comfort that you exist in if I become more like you. But what we are into an interesting space because our first interactions with America were not of the kind that would foster a mindset that would want to integrate. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. That's another topic altogether. But what I'm saying is I don't feel like integration was ever the goal. And when you read a lot of the writings from white historians in the time period and various other places, they don't speak in terms of integration. They speak in terms of assimilation. And this isn't just for black people. This is
Right.
for all culture groups. Even the Asians and the Chinese that we love to talk about and that people love to call model minorities. That whole frame that they had with them was assimilation, not integration. And the only time integration became a talking point is within the narrative of the larger American social experiment has been during those periods of time where there was a war going on. So if you were
Right.
talking about World War II, when Japan was an issue and China was not, all of a sudden we started hearing these conversations about cultural pluralism, and we are a nation of many nations, and all of these other things started coming out. But right after that shit was over, excuse my language, right after that
No,
stuff
you
was
good.
over,
Yeah.
everybody was like, everybody was like, nah, 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 nah. We back on this assimilation tip. Nah, we don't want you to be you, and we're not gonna make space for you to be you. We want you to be
Yeah.
like us. You need to be
Yeah.
American because what you are is not that. And if you want me to
Right.
accept you, you need to be
Right.
American. So integration for me, that whole time period, I call it the assimilation time period. But if we want to talk about the civil rights movement, that was a time period of heavy assimilation. Where
Hold up.
go
Now,
ahead.
now, before we get deeper, so a comment from the BBC show, because I'm talking about, when I made my comment about don't send the scholar to Yale, send it to HBCU. So the comment is don't attend Yale. Yet, do the HBC, and the question is, do the HBCUs offer enough perks/benefits for the Brown scholar other than scholarship money? The packaging of the HBCUs has got to be better. And to answer that, because I went to a HBCU and I've been to a lot of other HBCUs. Yes, the HBCUs have the academic infrastructure to foster great minds. It does it all the time. There are a number of young black geniuses, young black scholars, even young black people who don't even know who they are yet. Go to HBCUs and their intellectual capacity is improved so much at these HBCUs. So yeah, the HBCU may not have all of the resources that the Ivy League have, but that don't mean I can't come out of an HBCU smarter than somebody who came out of Ivy League. Because hell, we still got access to books. We still got
Well,
access to internet, to resources and information too. So yes, these schools historically, because of a lot of other things that come into play, slavery and other things, they've been able to accumulate wealth and resources over time. But the intellectuals that come out of these HBCUs are some of the ones that be saving the country. So I'm just
yeah.
saying.
And so I would add to that, it's not, and nobody's saying that HBCUs don't have a lot to improve on. If you've listened to our
Yeah, they do. Oh,
podcast,
trust me, they do. They
you
do.
you've heard us lay into HBCUs, but that type of argument of, well, can the HBCU offer me what an Ivy League school argument or Ivy League school offers me or PWI offers me? That argument is kind of flawed, and this is why I say it's flawed. Um, until HBCUs get the level of talent that PWIs get, it's not really fair for you to try to hold them on a comparable level in terms of what they can offer. Because we know that you go to college, like everybody's getting the same information for the most part. What you're getting out of college is the networking opportunities and the people that you meet with. That's the value of the college experience. Anybody can buy the books, read the books. Anybody can
Right.
watch, especially in today's day and age.
Right.
Anybody can get the information. The differential factor is Who are you networking with? Who are they friends with? And so, of course, an HBCU is not going to be able to offer you the level of networking opportunities that a Ivy League school is, simply because of the students and the families that are at an Ivy League school. But that is never going to change if the view is, well, I'm not going to go to a HBCU because Ivy League schools got this. Like, that's the way paradigms continue to exist. That's the way things stay the same. In order for things to change, people have to change them. They got to do something different. That means black people that value black culture and black progress have to stand on it from the standpoint of, I might not necessarily have the same easy path that I would have if I go this route, but I still have a path. So let me go this route. Let me blaze the trail for the people that are coming behind me so that it'll be easier for them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So just to follow it. This thing we move on. The follow up comment is he's saying his when he graduated from two PWIs, his connection with himself and his culture deepened. But then he said what I was just about to say too. It does depends on the case. It is a case by case situation. But that's any school though. That's any
Right.
institution that you go to. So yeah, so we're on the same page on that. The case by case situation. Because I know I came out of HBCU with a deeper connection of myself and my culture, but I know a lot of people who came out of HBCU who still don't have no clue or nothing as far as historical or Black pride, anything like that, even though they were on the HBCU campus. But
Look,
but yeah, so we agree with that part.
I went to a PWI and briefly an HBCU, and I will say the feel I had was better at the HBCU. And like I said earlier, the networking opportunities were better because of the PWI and the people I met there. But the thing that stuck me most, and it is going to be like you guys both said, you in the comment, a case by case basis. PWIs. The only reference to black culture I got in my psychology courses at the PWI that I went to was as a counterculture, as a negative influence. And so that
Right.
sticks, it stuck with me. And I imagine that it stuck with any of the black kids that were in that program, listening to somebody talk about their culture as a counterculture, as something
Right.
negative.
Right. Definitely. So, but let's jump back into where we were. So, civil rights movement, and you were talking
Hmm.
about civil rights movement being a little more of something that's a push to white acceptance versus you were saying that's a little more the integration.
Yeah, no, it was, well, the civil rights movement was not integration at all. That was firm assimilation. That was, and I say this a lot, and people get mad, but it's my view. I got facts and figures to back me up. If you want to tell me I'm interpreting them wrong, that's fine. If you can show me how to interpret them better, that's cool. But the elders had a view that was more geared on black progress. The youth were tired of that view, and they wanted change now, and they felt like the best way to get that change was to challenge white people, to get white people to change their views on black people. And that was the civil rights movement summed up in a nutshell. And so what ends up happening when you're not psychologically prepared for the certain changes that came, and this is a prime example of when you have white progress without the black progress to match. White people opened up their doors, their shops, their this, their that, and the black people ran in and left all their stuff alone.
Yeah.
Another example of an imbalance in progress. One side
Yeah.
progressed, the other side didn't. So that wasn't integration at all, because if we're talking about, my definition of integration is you get to remain as you are, and I'm going to make a space for you as you are where I am. So you can be black. I'm going to acknowledge your blackness. I'm going to accept your blackness. And I'm
Yeah.
not going to challenge you to change anything because of me. You can be what you are. I will make room for you. That did not happen. Assimilation is, if you want to get in here, you got to be like me. That's what happened. And that's what America consistently pushes to happen. And I can't blame America for it. Who won't want a culturally homogenous society? A society where everybody's the same. It makes it easier to manage people.
Yeah, definitely. Well, and I think what we have to remember on our end, from them, everything they do is about the maintenance of their dominance.
Right.
And so when we understand that, we'll stop asking a lot of the question of why they do things like this and why they do things like that. It all comes back to the maintenance. You think they spent 400 years building this to just give it up because people starting to march and protest? Like black people have been fighting back for the longest. And so that's why I want us to study our history of rebellions more, because
Mm-hmm.
that's more the black progress that we need to be seeing. So it's one thing to become a part, like the argument of getting the seat at the table, right? Instead of building
Mm-hmm.
your own table. So
Mm-hmm.
you want to get a seat at the table of the people who oppress you. You want to get a seat at the table of the people who they don't rock with you like that. You want to get a seat at the table of the people who continuously use you as a labor class to benefit off of you. I'll gladly give you 100 million to make me 3 billion. I
Mm-hmm.
gladly do that. So I think when we start to see it like that from that maintenance standpoint, we will have a better understanding of why black progress is more important. And black progress looks like ownership. Like there's no way Kanye West should be out here running around screaming, trying to get his masters. Like
Mm-hmm.
you making all those songs that make all that money, but you don't own the songs. So at the end of the day, is that really black progress?
Mm-mm.
So, cause like just from like break that down, at the core, like the difference, black progress, white progress. If you said, just reiterate the core of black progress, white progress.
The core of Black progress is simple. It is the ability for Black people to own and regulate their own spaces, and self-actualize their future. It's just that simple. Anything that moves us towards those goals, where we are in control of our world and our existence and everything in it, Black progress. That's
Right.
what we do for us as Black people. And again, this is from our perspective. So, white progress is the tolerance and acceptance and the willingness to share resources with other groups of people. And we define it that way because in America, white people own 97% of the wealth of the nation. They have an
Right.
outsized amount of the wealth. So progress for them from a social standpoint looks like them being tolerant, them being
Right.
accepting, them not vilifying people that don't look like them sharing some of their resources because they understand that out of the 2 to 3, the 2 to 5% of the resources that are left, there are a bunch of people that are trying to survive off of those small amounts of resources. So they understand the understanding of these paradigms and the willingness to move and behave in a manner that cultivates the growth of other people. That is white progress.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the argument of we need a seat at the table so that they can hear what we got to say, so that we can show them that we are human too, so that we can connect with them and they can connect with us. Those arguments are founded in the belief that if white people see me as human, they will change their view of me and be nice to me. That is white progress at its core. There's
Right.
nothing progressive for black people about that view, because that the same view says that, okay, well, if they change their mind, if they do see you as human and they begin sharing resources, all of the resources you get are dependent on them viewing you as human. If they change their mind and take their resources, There's nothing you can do to stop them. And one other point I want to make here is these conversations are cultural conversations. I'll point that out. These are not individual conversations where we're talking about an individual white person or one white person here or one black person there. These are cultural conversations. Culture
Hmm.
affects everybody, but it affects everybody at different degrees, different amounts. So we're not talking about, again, we're not talking about one white person. We're not talking about Jeff Bezos. All right. We're talking about the culture of white people. All right, I'm done.
Nah, but that's real though. So think about it like this, right? I go through like the idea that we all have to go through diversity and inclusion.
Mm-hmm.
No, no, we all don't. We all don't need to do that because we all don't have a problem with diversity and inclusion. I know
Right.
we don't. Hell, we include everybody. Like, like we literally include everybody. So, that and the thing got stuck on the screen. I don't know, but that's think about it though. Diversity and inclusion. So it's saying that I have to. Well, we're so fixated on maintaining our dominance, and we pass that down to so many generations that when we want to try to treat y'all like humans, we got to go to classes to learn how to treat y'all like humans. We got to go to class to learn how to not just continue to look at you all as pets or just the labor class. Oh yeah, you are humans. Dang, this hour class, this only hour long class has really opened my eyes so I can see the humanity in all of you. Like for real. And then so that's white progress. Also, white progress is allowing the black female newscasters to wear their natural hair.